First off, hello, welcome. I've done some videos in the past on a cable network setup that I've made in my house that kind of emulates the cable TV that I grew up with in the 90s. And I've done a bunch of videos showing my progression. I'll put a playlist up there. But I wanted to kind of do both an update video and a more detailed standalone video showing how all of it works. So first I just want to demonstrate it working on this TV, just to give you an idea of what it is. So despite me saying it's cable, what I did is I made it work on the old knob TVs. So instead of for those who don't know, cable TV channels above 13 are different than broadcast channels. So when you had the old TVs that you had your VHF and your UHF, and the frequency range of these channels and these channels, there's a big gap in between. Cable TV sat in that gap. So when you went to channel 14 and then up and up and up, it actually sat within this gap. I mean, there are nuances. Some were below, some were above. The VHF low band 2 to 6 and VHF high 7 to 13 are split FM radios in there. It's complicated, but the long and short of it is, on old TVs, you used to be able to set it to broadcast or cable or TV or KTV. And that's what it did. It changed channel 14 and higher to use different frequencies. But I've got a ton of old TVs here. I don't want them to have to be cable ready or get cable converters. I want to just plug them in and go. So, despite it being a closed circuit cable system, I use UHF. So we can see the first channel, channel 2, 24/7 Classic Simpsons. The next channel, channel 6, 60s and 70s classic TV shows.
Get out. We'll start without you. Colonel.
And we move up channel 10. This is the local CBC affiliate. So I'm located in Canada, so the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, this is their local affiliate. I just have a DTV box providing it. It just crops off the sides as a widescreen, so you just lose the information, as God intended. Let's go to UHF now. So we got the first channel, channel 14. This is cartoons, so King of the Hill, all the old Adult Swim shows, you know, all sorts of goodies. Ah, the 80s channel. Golden Girls, Married with Children, everything that was around in kind of the mid to late 80s. And we go up a little bit. That was 16. 22. Now we're on the 90s. Seinfeld, Frasier, Third Rock from the Sun. You know, the good stuff. Lots of sitcoms. 24. This is the local global TV affiliate, CKND. It's another DTV over-the-air channel that I just have a converter box. You can see it cuts off the widescreen there.
Construction catastrophe ahead.
And we keep going up here. Now we have the music video channel. This is actually broadcast in stereo, MTS stereo. So if I tune this in on a TV in my house with stereo, like say the flat screen in my living room, it has excellent sound. Just every possible music video on shuffle. Then a bunch of nothing, some noise, some over-the-air digital stuff. The British channel. I might change this. I don't watch this channel very much, but right now it's just old 80s and 90s British shows. Or any earlier, I think it's got Monty Python on here too.
I'm an Englishman who merely happens to be a librarian.
And finally, we've got the Weather Channel. Anyone who's familiar with Winnipeg lore, all the sort of Gergs adjacent memes, this is a cultural icon of Winnipeg. This existed from the 70s until I think the early 2000s in one form or another. And what this is this is a recreation running on a Raspberry Pi. I've done videos on all the details on it, codes on GitHub, blah, blah, blah. So this was it channel 54. So yeah, we're all the way up into the 50s now. Focus. Now, what I did is all these analog channels are in fact injected with the digital over-the-air channels. So, for example, upstairs on the flat screen TV in the living room, I can still tune in these analog channels and watch them, but I can also tune in the digital over-the-air channels. And let me just say, it's a pain in the butt. This is my little spreadsheet, because everything deserves a spreadsheet, to figure out where to put all the channels. I'll show the modulators in a bit. You'll see chapters and stuff like that. But as you can see, these gray ones are these over-the-air channels. So our local CTV affiliate is virtual channel 7.1, but the physical channel, the frequency channel is channel 7. So same with City TV, CHMI, this is channel 13. So what I've done is I've put some channels with enough spacing here. You know, I put CBC analog in between these two, but I don't want to go anywhere near them because that'll cause the digital channel to knock out and cause noise on the analog channel. And then I've put the two channels here, and as you can see, CKND Global is on frequency 19. So I've left a couple spacing on either side here. I found for the most part, I can do one channel in between the modulated ones and two channels in between the digital ones. We keep going down, more of my local, more over the air, and then we get right to the end here. Now, as you can see, there's this big gap here. What has happened in recent years is the UHF band for over-the-air channels has shrunk. Old TVs when UHF first came out went all the way up to 83. Later on in the early 80s, I believe in 1983, a section of the UHF band, the top end, so channels 70 to 83, were removed. There weren't a lot of channels on UHF. It was all just kind of a waste anyway. And they went towards early telecommunications, cell phone stuff. That's what they eventually got used for. I don't think there was anything in the early 80s that used it then, but that's where they went eventually. So what am I getting at? Well, we have so many cell phones and LTE and 5G and stuff like that that the FCC in the US has been auctioning off more spectrum to telecommunications. Same thing with the CRTC here in Canada. So now UHF only goes up to 36. And I actually remember reading that in some areas they've lopped it off somewhere around channel 19 or 20 as well, so these are gone. So what that means is that I get a lot of noise from cell phone towers and stuff up here. What I've done, and I'll show this later on, is I bought one of those little LTE filters they sell on Amazon that are kind of a gimmick. They're supposed to filter out anything above channel 36 to help you get better reception for your digital channels, but that's not how any of this works. But it's great for me because I'm able to filter that out enough that these channels seem to work. But it's an ongoing battle to try and fight any noise that I'm bringing in from my over-the-air antenna versus my modulated channels. And I have rearranged these every which way. I'll come up with an idea and say like, oh, it'd be better if I do this, and I rearrange them all and it's worse, and then I end up going back. So this is tried and tested. It may not be the clearest. For example, I have this little switch mode power supply for my capture setup, and when I turn that one on, it absolutely demolishes channel 22 in my office. It is what it is. The future is full of noise. So here we are, the heart of the beast. My apologies, you'll have to forgive all this background noise. This room also contains the furnace and air conditioning, and it is bloody hot out during yet another heat wave, so yay, air conditioning. What this is a whole slew of consumer grade modulators, commercial grade modulators, and Raspberry Pis. Most of these Raspberry Pis are running Kodi, kind of like a standalone installation for the Raspberry Pi. They just put a little tiny Python script to set it to shuffle, load up a folder and shuffle all the files and play them. So every time it boots up, it loads them all, shuffles them, plays them, shuffles them, plays them, and it's just off a USB stick. And each Raspberry Pi, even the new versions, has a composite video out. Some the connector was missing. Some use a 4-pin TRRS 3.5mm jack to get the video out. But they all have composite out. I believe everything except the 0 and maybe the latest version. But these are all old. Some of these are running on the original Pi 1B. It doesn't take much to just play standard def video. What I've done on some of them is I've taken these USB audio adapters to try and get more audio gain. Some of the channels are pretty quiet. I've had to bring up the volume gain in the settings of Kodi and put one of these on for some of them. The audio out, built-in audio out on the early Pis isn't great, but that's what these are. So I've got all these little USB sticks. Everything's nicely labeled as best as I can. And yeah, let's take a look. So since my last video, I've added these, so we might as well start with these. These are Blonder Tongue modulators, MICM, and these are rack mount. They're designed to go in a big rack and sit beside each other in a big stack, and then they share one big power supply. What I did is I just took old, there's not good lighting in here. I just took old computer fan and CD-ROM audio cable plugs, modified them, used a computer Molex plug to go to an old external hard drive adapter. This provides 5 volt and 12 volt, which is what these run on, 5 volt and 12 volt. So you've got a nice label there. So I've labeled them all, what they're for, what channel. These are fixed channels. You can see there's a label there, 10, 2, 6. And these all run into the Raspberry Pis, get signals. Here is the one and only stereo modulator. This one is made by Channel Plus. Let's see if we can get a stereo. So Channel Plus made a lot of home RF equipment. They actually made a whole like boosters, splitters, modulators. So this is a somewhat of a later model compared to my other ones. This was available in mono, stereo, 2, 3, 4 channel. This is a single channel stereo. This other connection here is just an output. So that provides channel 30. And then I've got these dual channel modulators. A couple years ago I found one of these at a Value Village. Didn't know what it was, thought it looked cool, bought it, and that started this whole thing. I didn't even know these existed till I saw it. So these have 2 channels going in, or 2 composite video inputs going in. So you can see it's just the power input. They do some IR as well. You can put IR transmitters on here and receivers on the other end. They were originally sold so you could have like one central VCR or cable box and it could go to different rooms in the house. Not how I'm using it, but that's how they were sold. And then you use these buttons to go and set the channels for each of them. Some of these are missing the buttons. You gotta put a paper clip in. So anyway, these each have 2 channels. And what's nice is they have a lot of connections on the front. So you have an input that gets amplified. So say you can put your cable TV or antenna in there. 3 amplified outputs, and then a non-amplified input and output for local pass-through, like going to the local TV and into the local VCR. So pretty neat. Labeled these, channel numbers are wrong. I think this is now 22, that's 24, whatever. It's ongoing change. So I got 2 more of these of varying age. And then down here, I got 2 RCA DTV boxes. These have actually been running solid. They get pretty hot, and I originally had one mounted to the board here, and it would constantly overheat. But kind of sitting them just vertically like this, they've been good, solid. I mean, they give off a lot of heat, but not too bad. It's cool down here in the summer, cool down here in the winter. It's fine. Lots of power bricks everywhere. I've tried my best to go and label all the power supplies or all the power cables when I'm dealing with troubleshooting and stuff. Oh yes, and the last Pi here, Pi 1. This is the, I think is a Pi 3 or a Pi 4. It's the fastest Pi I own, and that one's running the weather channel because that actually has to go out to the internet. It's connected to the internet. and, you know, be secure and do calculations and stuff. Now, the way these all combine, it's really messy. These three RF modulators, I'm just using an old splitter backwards, which you can do, some to varying success. Some work better than others. Everything here has been a trial and error. Everything I read about and I find a product that on paper is supposed to do better, and then I install it, it does worse. You just gotta kind of figure it out. So, 3 into 1. This goes all the way up along here and into this, but it goes into one of the amplified outputs. So this is just another splitter. So this is feeding into the splitter to then go out. Got the, is it the antenna going in here? No, this is channel 30. This is the music video channel. And then this output goes to a splitter. And the other side of the splitter has the output from this one. And then to the amplified input of this one goes the unamplified output of this one. And then the amplified, two of the amplified outputs go to the DTV boxes. And then this is the antenna, my attic mounted antenna with that little LTE filter that I ordered on Amazon. That actually works well. If you're gonna modulate and you're gonna inject the DTV stuff inside there, it was like $10. I mean, it makes a difference. I do recommend it. It's made by Philips, I think. I mean, it's a total novelty. If you're just picking up DTV channels, it's not going to make a difference. It's going to be filtering out stuff way up here in the spectrum, and you're going to be tuning in down here. If I'm wrong, please explain to me in the comments, but I don't see how that would help. Seems like a gimmick to me. And yeah, that's it. Goes into this splitter and runs all the way over here to the whole house splitter, and then goes off to the rooms. I do plan on getting a proper distribution amplifier here, but I have to be very careful inserting any sort of amplification, because too much, you get more noise. Not enough. It's a balance. But I do want to be able to hook up more outlets in the house. Right now I have more plugs and more rooms to connect than I do outputs on here, so I'm constantly unplugging and moving stuff around here. But yeah, I just thought I would show how it's all set up here. And of course I just have a little cheap TV down here to use as a monitor for the security system, and also if I'm working on channels I want to test them from in here. Can you believe someone just threw this perfectly good TV away? So I can show you the analog and digital living together in harmony. So we got CBC French, button, 60s and 70s, CBC Anglaise, CTV, global, CBC analog. There is 13.1, which is city TV. Very, very hard to tune in where I am. If I had a higher antenna, I'd be able to get it, but I can't. We got all the analog stations. Some Seinfeld, global, music videos. Where's volume on this? See, does it tell you it's stereo if I tune in? It doesn't. That's lame. The religious channel that no signal, eh? That's weird. Oh well, no loss. British channel. Yeah, just thought I'd show this off. I'm having a blast with this. think I've added about all the channels I can. It's a total of 10 analog channels and about 5 digital channels that I'm able to tune in. That's plenty. I don't need a full cable lineup. But as a kid, I always thought cable setups were really cool. I always found it fascinating how channel lineups would change, and you could see them putting the little signal meter on there, and then they would be skipping a channel, and you'd find out that's because of interference that they found in one neighborhood and moved things around, and then the new lineup would come out and there's all these new channels. Anyway, I was a weird kid, but this is fun. This is kind of just one of those things I've always wanted to set up, and now I have, and now you've seen it. And yeah, bye.
Living every day.